Coming up next on Jersey Matters, the congressman at the heart of the effort to repeal and replace Obamacare is from New Jersey. Our conversation with Congressman Tom MacArthur. Also, a high school in New Jersey specifically for those fighting with addiction. And it's that time of year again. The New Jersey Balloon Festival is about to take off. We'll give you all the details. Those stories and a whole lot more because Jersey Matters. Welcome to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. We come to you this week from the district office of Republican Congressman Tom MacArthur in Toms River, New Jersey. You'll recognize him from CNN, MSNBC, almost all of the networks, because it was his amendment, called the MacArthur Amendment, that allowed the repeal of the Affordable Care Act and the replacement with the American Health Care Act. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Larry.
What's it been like for you? I mean, you seem like you've been on every network. You got to stand next to the president when they made the announcement.
You know, honestly, I don't get lost in those things. I try to stay focused on the things that matter here, and this is about fixing a healthcare crisis. And that's where my focus has been.
So your mind hasn't been at all on the personal politics of this at all?
I try to not let myself dwell there because I think this is a moment where we have a healthcare crisis that we're either going to fix or let slip away. And I think you get lost in the politics and you forget about the people that are affected by this. So, look, I'm a human being like everyone else. All that stuff swirling around, I'm not saying it has no impact, but I really try not to focus on it because I think you can get lost in that.
Well, here's why I think that you should focus more on it and why the Republicans should focus more on it, because I think the messaging of this has been awful. And you've been going to interviews, and the basis of the interviews seems to be many times that what you're doing is wrong and what had been is right. Did you feel that?
I do, but that's not the politics as much as people don't understand where we are. Where we are right now is the individual market in healthcare is crumbling. State by state, you're seeing markets collapse. New Jersey, where we're sitting right now, 18 months ago had 6 insurers. Today we have 2. A third of U.S. counties have 1. Iowa just last week announced they had none. 94 of 99 counties had no insurer. And I could go on. We are going to fix this, or millions of people are going to get hurt.
Well, let's take a step back and talk specifically about your amendment to get the facts out about it, because your amendment was a bridge between Republicans who were bickering over the replacement policies, and you were able to get enough people to get it to pass. And yet, I keep hearing that your policy is not going to cover a lot of people with pre-existing conditions, that your policy is going to put a lot of people out on the street with no insurance. How much of that is true and how much of that is false?
Well, it's not true at all. It's just the opposite. And you have to rewind. The reason I dove into this in the first place is because I have what may be a very unique perspective. One, I've had a lifetime of experience in the insurance industry, which is unique in Congress. I'm not aware of any other member who has rolled around in insurance issues as much. And for years, I was heavily involved in the residual markets, the markets for people that nobody wanted to insure. So this is very familiar territory for me. So what I proposed, quite simply, is balancing our need to protect the most vulnerable people, people with pre-existing conditions, balancing that with our need to bring premiums down for everyone else.
But much has been made of the fact that you're allowing states to opt out. Much has been made of that as a loophole that allows them not to cover people with pre-existing conditions. Is that true?
No, it's not true. And it's not an opt-out. It's a limited waiver to give states some flexibility. But around those waivers are very strict limits. You cannot deny somebody based on pre-existing conditions. You cannot deny somebody a renewal based on pre-existing conditions. You cannot discriminate based on gender. And to get the waiver, you have to have a risk pool to protect the very people that might be affected by rising prices, people with pre-existing conditions. What it fundamentally does is just allows the states to cover those people, the people with the highest costs, in a risk pool. And when you do that, you move them from being paid for by other policyholders, a limited group, and you move them to the much broader shoulders of the taxpayer. And we pay for that by requiring the states to do some cost savings. We can come back to that. But that's what happens here. And once the people with the highest costs are cared for, everyone else's premiums come down. And then you'll have more young people buying policies. You'll have more lower income people buying policies. And as the markets begin to build up again, you won't have insurers pulling out of
states. So what
states.
do you see as the net gain and loss of those who are insured? Because you keep hearing these large numbers of people who will be left uninsured under this plan.
Well, the Congressional Budget Office, which is a group of auditors, predicted that if people weren't forced to buy insurance, the mandate, if they weren't forced to buy it, that up to 24 million of them might not buy it. And that was their prediction about what might happen. I have a lot of respect for them, but let's remember they also missed the prediction on how many people Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, would cover. They missed that wildly. And so now they're saying if there's no mandate, maybe 24 million might not buy insurance. I don't believe that. As somebody who's spent a lifetime in insurance, everybody wants to be insured. There's nobody that would rather not have that protection. People don't buy it because they can't afford it. And if we bring rates down in the way that I've described, and we offer people meaningful help buying insurance, which is what our advanceable tax credits do, allows people not to wait until they file their tax return, but to direct the federal government now to pay for their insurance policies. I think millions of people that don't have insurance today will buy it. They'll want to buy it, and they'll be able to buy it.
But now it goes to the Senate. And we keep hearing this is all going to get thrown out and they're going to start again, or at least that's a distinct possibility. Have the senators been in contact with you about your amendment and what should stay?
Well, I certainly have spoken to some senators throughout this process and worked heavily with the Senate on how to frame my amendment because it has to survive their rules, which are different than ours. Look, I don't know what the Senate will do, but that's the legislative process. We can all choose to throw our hands up because we can't control the full process, or we can do our part, and now it's on the senators. And they're going to find the same set of issues that I found and that others in the House found. How do you balance taking care of the most needy people, the most vulnerable, with the highest cost, people like I was when my daughter was alive? How do you balance that with bringing costs down for everybody else? And remember, we're talking about one small slice of the market, the individual market at 7%. And we're talking about people within that 7% with pre-existing conditions. And we're talking about people within that small sliver who haven't had continuous insurance. Because if you maintain insurance, you can never be health rated under this law. And you're talking about people in that smaller segment that are in states that get waivers. And we've provided $138 billion. $138 billion to help the states to protect this small but costly group of people. And that will benefit them. It will benefit everybody else in the programs.
We will continue our conversation with Congressman Tom MacArthur when Jersey Matters continues right after this.